Whether consulting the stars or drawing some cards, Astrologians wheel and deal, supporting their allies with heals and shields, and back when I played Final Fantasy XIV, they were my favorite healer to play. Now, I didn't like healing so much, but the way that they buffed their allies in the RNG roulette style divining deck, where they drew cards each with a different buff that they had to assess in the moment which one of their party members would best benefit from it, that was interesting to me, and something that I wanted to try to bring into a Dungeons and Dragons setting. So this is Final Fantasy in D&D. Astrologian Edition. Episode. Thing. Alright, Final Fantasy in D&D. So this is where I'm going to be taking some Final Fantasy jobs and translating them into homebrew D&D classes. At least my personal take on them. With that being said, let's jump into Astrologian. Now, Astrologian is going to be one of the domains of Cleric. So it's not a class of itself, it's a subclass. So when you take your first level in Cleric, you will choose the Astrology Domain and all of the benefits that come with that. Primarily, first of all, being, of course, your domain spells. Like every Cleric domain, you're going to get your own domain spells. Astrologian is going to have Bless, Bane, Enlarge, Reduce, Moonbeam, Beacon of Hope, Aura of Vitality, Divination, Otiluke's Resilient Sphere, Circle of Power, and Scrying. So, now those are the spells that I went with for the Astrologian. Wanted to have this wheel and woe type of situation going on, and also things with spheres and stars and the like. Felt very Astrologian-like to me. So, those are your domain spells that you'll get at the appropriate levels. Now, jumping into your first ability, the main ability of the Astrologian, the Divining Deck. Now, if you've played Final Fantasy XIV, you will recognize these symbols here. So the Divining Deck is this ethereal deck that you will be able to draw from as a bonus action and roll a d6. Now, depending on what your d6 rolled will give you this cantrip level buff or effect that you can then assign to a creature within 60 feet of you, or in the case of, if anyone's been reading ahead, number 2, the Evoker, a damaging spell. But let's go through them one by one. Rolling a 1 will result in the Warrior being drawn. Now, you can assign this to yourself or an ally, and the next time that target deals damage before the end of your next turn, it'll get a little 1d6 radiant extra damage on top of that. Spells, attacks, anything that deals damage. Rolling a 2 will give you the Evoker card. It says this card targets yourself. That doesn't mean you have to attack yourself. That wording is just important for later on. So, if you draw the Evoker, you get to make a ranged spell attack against a creature within range, dealing 2d4 radiant damage on a hit. The Executioner gives you a +2 bonus, or your target a +2 bonus to attack rolls it makes until the end of your next turn. The Paladin grants 5 temporary hit points to the target. The Rogue allows the target to move an additional 10 feet on their turn. And the Wheel is the little bit of balance to this that will allow an Astrologian the opportunity, the chance, the 1 in 6 chance to choose which card they want. So just bringing a little bit of control to the very heavily RNG mechanic here. The second one are the Astrologian Sects. Now, again, anyone that's played Final Fantasy XIV should recognize these, but for those who have not, you get 2 sects or modes or forms, if you want to call them that, at first level. Diurnal and Nocturnal. Entering a sect requires you to cast a spell or draw from your divining deck. Now, going into a sect or changing your sect happens at the conclusion of those effects. So not when you start to cast a spell, not when you first draw it, but once you have concluded the casting of the spell and its effect has taken place, or once you have drawn and assigned a card, you can go into one of these two sects. Diurnal will give you a little bit of bonus to your healing. Didn't want to step on the toes of Life Cleric in that, so it's just a static +2 at all levels, just 2 additional hit points whenever you heal with a spell of first level or higher, or with your collective unconscious, which is the Astrology Cleric's Channel Divinity, which we'll be getting to in a moment. Nocturnal Sect gives you a bonus of +1 to your spell attack rolls. Channel Divinity Collective Unconscious. At 2nd level, you can, as an action, present your holy symbol, and a sphere of twinkling constellations emanates from you. Now, this is going to create a 30-foot radius field around you that moves alongside you. And at the end of each turn, if an allied creature is within your radius, you can grant them an effect based on which of the 2 Astrologian sects you're in. Diurnal Sect will give them a little bit of a heal, and Nocturnal will give them resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. At 6th level, we have Fortune's Favor. This gives a buff to what at this point should maybe be a falling off of the initial bonus action draws. So this Fortune's Favor is just a way to keep them a little bit relevant. So, depending on what sect you are currently in, whenever you target a creature with a card, they'll get a benefit. So if they're in Diurnal Sect, they'll get a recoil damage effect, where when they're attacked by a melee attack, they'll reflect radiant damage equal to your proficiency bonus. If you're in Nocturnal Sect, you can give them temporary hit points. And so this is why I said that the Evoker card, that it targeted yourself, because that means that when you draw the Evoker and use it on yourself to be able to use that ranged spell attack, you will get these bonuses once you hit level 6. Additionally, whenever you target a creature within your collective unconscious, within that 30-foot radius while your Channel Divinity is active, the card effect is doubled. So this will change the war here from 1d6 to 2d6. The Executioner goes from a +2 bonus to attack rolls to a +4. The temporary hit points granted by the Paladin becomes 10 instead of 5. So at 6th level, all of these effects double only during your Channel Divinity and only while the targeted creature is within the range of that. So it's a very situational, very specific buff to their level 1 class feature. Now, Malefic, going in the convention of all clerics that either have their Divine Smite-like ability or the additional damage to their cleric cantrips, Malefic is in line with that second one, where they can add their Wisdom modifier to their cleric cantrip damage, as well as the damage they deal with that Evoker card that they draw. Last but certainly not least, the big finale, the 17th level payoff to the Astrology Domain Cleric, Fated Drawing. When you draw from your Divining deck, you may draw and assign one additional card as part of that same bonus action. But with all of that being said, I would like to just give a thank you to Natural Crit and the Home Brewery for their amazing tool. You can stay up to date with our schedule on Twitter, check out the multitude of videos we have on YouTube, or catch us on Twitch when we stream, normally every Sunday and Wednesday. I have been XentheDM for Once Upon a Roll. Hope you enjoyed the content. Let me know what you think about it, and if there's anything you might want me to try to create in the future. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.